Merry Christmas, everybody, and welcome to the Tea with Ms McGill Show, presented by Blue Line Brews from the Blue Line Brews studio. Got a great deal for you, bluelinebrews.com. Either type it in or just go down, scroll down, go into the show notes. 15% off if you type in the promo code SAVE15. So at a checkout, there'll be a little box, SAVE15, and get 15% off of some of the great brews. And also along the Iron Range, if you are shopping, be watching, because they are starting to scatter around here at some stores in the Iron Range. Blue Line Brews, and of course, as always, 10% of their profits go back to the families, of fallen or wounded officers. So a fantastic cause. I am Puka with the crazy hat and the crazy sweater. This is Reed Larson, to my left, to your right, star of the show. Merry Christmas, buddy.
Merry
It's that
Christmas.
time of year.
Merry Christmas. Fun to be here just a couple of days here before Christmas Eve, and be wrapping up some great holiday hockey here and some good conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we're going to do the show this week. No show next week. We'll take the week off, and then we'll be back in the new year. And like we were talking in the precast, like about 10 weeks, January 1st, to that state tournament. So we'll get you an episode every week from that point on. And we're going to start with a 3-day week, because it wasn't a weekend, 3-day week last week for the Thunderhawks down at the Edina Classic.
Yeah, it was a pretty good showing down there. Yeah, you know, most teams do their holiday classic or holiday tournament the week after Christmas takes place. Edina has traditionally ran theirs the week before. And this was the 40th annual Edina Classic at Braemar Arena. Grand Rapids has been in it for a number of years. I can't recall if they've been in it ever since it started. I don't know that answer. But what I do know is it is a quality, not necessarily a tournament. They're just games that we play, but they call it the Classic.
Sure.
But a quality 3-game swing to Braemar Arena against top quality teams. And we had a good go of it going down there as a Northern AA team. When you come out of the Edina Classic 2-1, you've got to be pretty happy when you're looking at two of the 3 teams that you play are top rated teams in the state right now, with Edina, obviously at the top of it, 1 or 2 at the moment. Eden Prairie really scratching somewhere within the top 10, and Elk River is always a tough game for us. Sure. Every time we play them. So a good weekend for us down there. It was, like I said, it was a success to come home 2-1. We went into with Thursday night. We went into coming off of a 2-game losing streak after going up north to Roseau and Warroad, getting swept up there, and then going down to the cities, playing the number 1 team in the state in Edina. We actually played fairly good in the first period of that hockey game. A couple of the wheels started to shake loose in the second period, and they came off completely in the third. We ended up losing that game 5-1, but we rebounded well coming into Eden Prairie the next night. Ended up beating Eden Prairie in overtime. I believe it was 4-3. And then wheeling off the momentum from that, we ended up putting a good whipping on Elk River 6-2. But the real highlight is none of those teams went 3-0. We kind of thought, okay, well, Edina beat us, beat Elk River. They're probably going to go 3-0. Guess who comes in with Edina on Saturday night and knocks Edina off is Eden Prairie.
Yeah, sure.
So, obviously a fun atmosphere for everybody, and it proved that even the well-oiled machine of Edina can lose every once in a while. We had a real good game against Eden Prairie, and Eden Prairie kind of turned the notch up a little bit. Coach Lee Smith got them going on Saturday night, and they chipped off Edina for the big upset win and a big win. So that shakes a few things up. It doesn't flip-flop positions for Edina taking over at 1 or anything like that, because they've been down a little bit in the rankings. And it may or may not bump Edina out of there. I think last I checked, they're still sitting at number 1.
Yeah.
But at any rate, we know they're human.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And like you said, that overtime win against Eden Prairie for the Thunderhawks was very exciting. And like you said, some just, good hockey. You kind of know where you're at when you leave. You guys headed north after those 3 games. You kind of knew where you were at. kind of a nice gauge for yourself.
Well, yeah, and I remember telling Coach Chido, I said, I know everybody wants to go down to a weekend tournament and come out of that thing going 3-0. I said, but if we're being realistic with the quality teams that we're playing there, if we come out of there 2-1, that is a heck of a good weekend. No question about it. We'll take it if we could come out of there 3-0, but realistically speaking, I told them on the way home from Warroad after getting swept, if we come out of that weekend, next weekend 2-1, we came out of there with a successful weekend going into Christmas break.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Anything else on the Classic?
Nope.
No. Okay. All right, guys and gals, but mainly you guys, because I know I don't do my Christmas shopping to the last minute. 2 shopping days left. We're recording on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Christmas, of course, Saturday. Iron Range Apparel. That's where we need to go. Thunderbird Mall in Virginia. Yep. Coffee cups, tumblers, T-shirts, hats, all kinds of unique items like that with Minnesota slogans printed on them. Okay, so if you're looking for something kind of Minnesota themed, that's the place to go. Of course, hockey items, the ODR line, which is exclusive there, outdoor rink hockey, hats, hoodies, stocking caps. I've got one here. All that ODR stuff. Plus hockey jerseys of all kinds. So if you're looking for something, like I said, you can kind of go there and cover everyone in the family. There's stuff for a daughter, a son, wife, husband, everybody. So Iron Range Apparel, Thunderbird Mall, go check them out. Like I said, exclusive outdoor rink ODR hockey line there. All right, so we're going to do something a little bit different. Everyone's about 10 games in-ish, of the season.
Pretty close. I mean, some teams have been a little front heavy with their schedule, like Grand Rapids. We just played 11 games. Some have played 6, 8, close to a half dozen to a dozen games.
Yeah, somewhere in there. Yeah, so we're going to go through just some of the rankings and stats that we compiled here. Now, I don't have any dates as to when I found these on the internet, but I don't have a date as to when they were. So this might be a little inaccurate, but it's going to give you kind of an idea. And so we're going to start with some individual stats. We've got some Northlanders on the list, so we wanted to highlight them and mention them. On the goals front, standing alone in 4th, 15 goals, Max Strand from Roseau. Tied for 7th, Thunderhawks, Joey Del Greco's got 13. Another guy that's tied in 7th, Jackson Panzer. For those of you that are closer to Reed and I's generation, you recognize that Panzer name out in East Grand Forks. His dad, there's Jay and Jeff. I believe Jackson's dad is Jeff, played because Jeff's living in East Grand. Jay's still living in Grand Forks, but that's his father. So playing high school over in East Grand Forks. On the assist list, Joey Del Greco again, 4th in the state with 18 assists. Jason Shagaby, guy we talked about last week's show, 15 assists. He's in 6th. And a few guys from up north here are tied for 7. Simon Davidson with 14. Denfeld, Easton Young, Thunderhawk, 14. And Kellen Murphy also from Roseau with 14. So those 3 are all from the Northland, tied for 7th in assists in the state. Points. Okay, the point leader is a gentleman by the name of Ty Kinnett. He leads all categories, 18 goals, 21 assists, 39 points. Giddy up, baby. Congratulations. That's really great. 40 points already. Not even Christmas. He's got 40 points put up. Red Lake Falls is where I believe he's from. 3rd overall in points in the state. Again, Joey Del Greco at 31. At 6th, Max Strand, Roseau, 26 points. Any surprises or anybody not on the list, or we just kind of want to run through for people, but anything stick out to you?
You know what? I don't see any surprises in that top list of guys that you talked about. We've seen all of those guys, except we haven't seen Simon Davidson yet. We're supposed to play them tomorrow. That game has been postponed till after Christmas. We haven't seen, obviously, the gentleman from Red Lake Falls. But we have seen Roseau. We've seen Kellen Murphy. We've seen Max Strand. We've been to Warroad, seen Jason Shagaby. None of those surprised me at all whatsoever. Joey Del Greco is just having a phenomenal year. Yeah. It's fun to watch him. We were sitting there last night calling the game on my 9, and he was sitting at his 27 points. And I remember telling Bob at one point in time, it's a matter of minutes before he ends up cracking 30 tonight. And it was. He ended up, I think he had 4 points last night and bumped right into 31. So
yeah. Well, he sniped that one at the end there.
Yeah, right on the power play. But he was a playmaker last night. He's been putting the puck in the net. He scored some big goals down at the Edina Classic last weekend, and he definitely was aside from just pumping pucks in the net, he was making plays and created opportunities for Garrett Drotz to score the hat trick last night for the Thunderhawks.
Oh,
So
nice.
he's been doing a lot of speed, a lot of skill, and he deserves to be
Yeah, a
in
lot
the
of skill,
top
yeah.
3 right now.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I know I ran into Coach Clafton a couple of weeks ago and said, yeah, Joey just had a fantastic, elite league season this fall. So congrats to Joey, and congrats to all you Northlanders that are on the list. All right, now we're getting into the team. Single A, top 3 rankings right now. Hermantown, number 1, Warroad, number 2, Matabidi, number 3. Some Northland teams of note: Denfeld, 7th. I think no real surprises there. We knew they were solid, but this one surprised me just a little bit. Greenway holding on to 9th in the latest single A rankings. Thoughts there?
Yeah, again, none of those surprised me at all whatsoever. Your top 3 teams, I think they're going to be the top 3 forever and a day until Matamidi decides to go Double A and until Hermantown decides to go Double A. Matamidi is probably closer than anybody as far as enrollment to a Double A school. They've got 1,100 students at their school, could go at any point in time, depending on what the free and reduced numbers are, but they could at any point in time. And of course, Warroad is always going to be a rated team in the state at single A. And I don't think we even have to have this conversation about Hermantown anymore. I think everybody knows they could be the top team in Double A if they want to. But yeah, Greenway doesn't surprise me either, sitting at 9. They had a really tough game last night against the last year's defending single A state champion, Gentry Academy. They ended up losing the game 5-4, but at one point in time, Greenway was up 4-3.
I heard that. Yeah.
So Greenway is playing some good hockey. I can tell you where a lot of their stuff is coming from and their success. First of all, Andy Surich is a phenomenal hockey coach. He's done a great job with that team since he took over for Grant Clafton, but he's got 2 excellent goaltenders. 2 excellent. He's got Jurgensen and Giebel. Both of those 2 goalies played in the HP program last year. One of them played for the 16s and the other one played for the 17s festival team. Both of those goaltenders, and you can flip a coin on any given night and those guys can be between the pipes for Greenway Raiders. They're both good. And there is part of the reason, and you don't want to give that credit only to those 2 guys. You got to give some hard work credit to the guys that are skating out, but also, say to Coach Surich, you're doing a really good job with that group. And as of right now, overachieving and continuing to do so.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, so congratulations to all you players over there in Greenway. All right, on to the Double A side. Edina, as we talked about earlier, maintaining the number 1 spot. Number 2, Lakeville South, and 3rd, Maple Grove. Roseau in there at 6th. Grand Rapids 9th. Any surprise? Well, I guess, and of note too, no Moorhead in the top 10, which is pretty rare these days. I guess any surprises or anything stick out to you in that list?
No, I think those are all ranked exactly where they should be. I think, Edina with the loss to Eden Prairie, they could have, if somebody else was playing good and beat some interesting teams, they could have moved somebody into the number 1 spot. But that apparently didn't happen, but doesn't surprise me that they're going to stay at number 1. Lakeville South is unbelievable. Maple Grove is unbelievable. We've seen how good Roseau is. They deserve to be in the top 5, in my opinion. They got them at 6.
Yeah.
And we deserve to be in the top 10. They put us at number 2 a week ago before we went up to
really?
Roseau and Warroad. Somebody had us at number 2,
okay.
and I kind of thought, boy, that's the kiss of death. Don't put Rapids at number 2 at any point in the early part of the season, especially with the first 5 games of the season. We hadn't played any, top-notch Double A teams yet. We'd played some single A teams. We'd played some conference games and hadn't played anybody in the top 5 in the state yet. And as soon as we did, we go on a 2-game losing streak, or it should say 3-game losing streak with Roseau, Warroad, and Edina, and then bam, we bounce right back, and now we're rolling with another 3-game winning streak.
Yeah. So no surprise I know the talent level there with Roseau because you talked about how you coach them in Bantams. But with the coaching change, new coach, just I guess that was the one thing that stuck out to me. Is like, wow, still 6, still that little community of Roseau, still getting her done. And it just, I guess it just doesn't matter. The hockey culture there is about as best, about as good as you can get.
Yeah.
Like I said, you just throw a coach in and they're right there.
Well, I think, you can just say it as a coach is, you put all the pieces into place and let them do their thing. Just, if I were the guy taking over that position, I'd do my best not to get in their way. I would say, as a coach, I'm doing my job if I don't screw it up for the kids. Let's just get them out there, get them moving. They've got guys on the staff that have coached those kids before in the past, with Tom Murphy, and even some of the other assistants that were there have been around these kids since they've been growing up, so they know them all. And let's be honest, Roseau's a town where everybody knows the game of hockey anyways. I think there's a lot of guys that could step into that position and do well. But like I said, if I were the guy taking over that position in Roseau this year, I'd be like, I'm going to do the best I can not to screw it up as a coach, because all you have to do is put them on the ice, give them something to go on, give them some game plans of what we're doing, and just let them do their thing and get out of the way.
Yeah. Stay out of the way.
And keep the culture positive.
Sure. All right. A word from Minnesota Hockey Camps.
Yeah. So Minnesota Hockey Camps, one of our newer sponsors here now. They've been on board here with us for 3 weeks now. In Breezy Point, Minnesota Hockey Camp, known as the camp where the pros train. We've got guys that have been alumni to that camp that have come back for years and years. Guys like TJ Oshie, Chris Stewart, Scott Hartnell, just to name a few. A lot of college guys come back, and for tradition, there have been college coaches that have come back and have worked weeks at the camp. And I know that current owners, Chris Stewart, Craig Larson, and Tony Masieri, are hoping to have that trend continue with college coaches coming back. They pull high school coaches in from the area to continue on and run those camps. So if you're looking for a good camp in the summertime for skill development, for classroom time, for dry land time, two times on the ice each day, meals catered in by Masieri's restaurant, an outdoor facility, and it's an outdoor rink, but in the summertime it's set up for dry land. Great costs. Go to MinnesotaHockeyCamps.com and get into some of the early bird prices that they have there. Get signed up. They'll get going right away mid-June, and they'll have camps running all the way through just before fall season starts for high school players that are playing fall sports. So right into the beginning of August.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Minnesota Hockey Camps. All right. We're going to just our traditional time when we preview some games. Obviously, Christmas is coming, and what I've noticed over the years is cities teams will come north, over the holidays, and of course, we hope that many Northland teams head south in about March, right? So the northern trip's a little bit different than the southern trip. So Hibbing's going to host 3 games next week. On the 28th, they've got Delano, 29th, Mound West Tonka, the 30th, Cambridge, Isanti. Greenway is also going to host Cambridge and Mound on the 29th and 30th. Rock Ridge, just on the 28th, they're going to host Mound West Tonka, and then they're on the road up to Thief River and Crookston. And then, of course, the Thunderhawks, you guys are going to head down to Minnetonka Wednesday of next week on the 29th. Do you have any intel on whether it's Minnetonka or any of these teams? I don't seem to know much about Delano, Mount West Tonka, Cambridge, Isanti, but I thought I'd throw it out to you and see if you did, or even just Minnetonka itself.
Well, Delano has been in the state tournament, in the last 5 to 6 years, three, 4 times. They've got a great coaching staff. They know what they're doing. They've built some tradition and some culture over the last couple of years. Expect Delano to be a team that's always knocking on the door for a section championship. I would not be surprised to see Delano in a state tournament again, 2 of the next 4 years. Like I said, there's a lot of good coaching going on in Delano. There's good culture that's been built. Mound West Tonka, I haven't heard a lot about over the course of the last couple of years. I guess I knew a little bit more about him back when I was coaching in Wilmer, back in the 2 earlier 2000s, from 2005 to 2011. I knew a little bit more about him back then. I haven't seen much from the Whitehawks over the course of the last few years. It'll be interesting to see how they fare when they come up north here and play teams like Rock Ridge and some of the area teams like Hibbing as well. And be fun to see that. But otherwise, like we said, Grand Rapids, we're heading down next Wednesday down to Minnetonka for a down and back in one day. Hopefully we can shake off the bus legs and get there early enough and get into the Pagel Center and play another AA team that you can expect to be a top team, whether they're ranked on the top 10 or not. Minnetonka is always a tough team to play. in the state of Minnesota. That should be a good test for the Thunderhawks. It should, be a good test for the Skippers too. So I think that's going to be a fun game for us after the holiday season and just before the new year.
Yeah, awesome. So if you're looking for some hockey, feel like traveling, you can go down to Minnetonka. Otherwise, like I said, Greenway hosting 2 games, Rockridge hosting a game, Hibbing hosting 3, so you can get out and get your fill next week. Rink Sports Bar, talked a little bit about them. Now this deal ends on Christmas Eve. The gift card specials are back. So this ends Friday. $50 purchase, a $50 gift card, get a $10 gift card free. $10 in free gift cards, I should say. $100 purchase, $25 in free gift cards. $200 gift card purchase gets you $50 in free gift cards. So you really can't go wrong on this deal. I mean, this is like the ultimate. So again, $50 and buy a $50 gift card, get $10 free gift card. Buy a $100 gift card, get $25 in free gift cards. $200 get you $50 in free gift cards. The Rink Sports Bar and Grill, just on for the United States Hockey Hall of Fame, just off Highway 53 in Eveleth. Like I said, this ends on Friday, so get over there and hit up those folks. All right, some sad news to report out of Bemidji. The day after we recorded last week, RH Bob Peters, who was actually my coach when I was at Bemidji State, passed away at age 84. For some of you young people, we'll just run through some stats here. 702 wins at Bemidji, 744 total wins. 5th all time. When I was there, he was 2nd all time. I think it was Mason from Michigan State was the only one that was ahead of him. 13 national championships, had a 43-game winning streak at one point, 15 conference championship. 1983-84, they went 31-0. And he's the only coach to reach the Final Four in all 3 hockey divisions, Division III, Division II, Division I. He always told us Beaver hockey is measured in winning championships, and from the stats I just read to you, there's no question.
No doubt about it. I mean, I made sent a couple messages out on the day that I found out, which should have been last Thursday, Friday, that time frame. I sent a couple messages out to some friends of mine that I've coached with, and over the course of the last couple of years that were products of Bob Peters. I played for him at Beaverville at BSU. They went on to coaching because of his influence. They've carried on some of his traditions, some of his rules, his 10 commandments of hockey, the famous 10 commandments he talks about and lives by when it comes to the game of hockey. I've learned and studied those with guys that I've coached with as well, guys like Dan Tollefson that I coached with in Wilmer, guys like Todd Krybeck that I coached with in Virginia, and now coaching with Wade Chido. He actually played for Saratory, but of course Saratory brought in the tradition of RH, and that kind of has lived on at BSU. So now coaching with Wade, there's just little snippets that you get from every one of these guys that have played. And I probably spent the most time with Dan Tollefson, whether he was coaching with me when I was a head coach in Wilmer, or whether when I stepped back and took the assistant job, I was coaching with him as he was the head coach. And actually, when Dan Tollefson took over as the head coach at Wilmer is when I started to learn the most about the Bob Peters style. He coached a lot like him. And I remember texting him the day that I found out, and he said, "Thanks for the text. Thanks for thinking of me." He said he meant a lot to me. He was a big mentor for him and for everybody that played for him. Nothing but respect. Bemidji State is what it is right now. And I don't care what the sport is you're talking about there. The culture of that university for athletics was built by Bob Peters and a few others. He's been there through the years. He was part of the activities department as an athletic director. You mentioned it. He brought that program from every level of college hockey, from the dwelling level of the bottom cellar, and built it back up to a Division I program, and has won at every level, except has not won a championship at the Division I level yet, but it will eventually do that, and that is doing huge part to the things that he's done there. there's a lot of things that are named after Bob Peters, but I would assume there's going to be something else that'll be named after him now that he's passed.
Yeah, maybe the troll or the statue, maybe a statue.
Definitely.
I always had the trench coat on. It was, very funny. As a matter of fact, here it is. So I have my coin purse from when I played from 1995. There's my schedule right on the back.
Awesome.
And
Very cool.
the game times in Bemidji were always 7:05, because the national anthem, 7:05. But he was one of those guys, fantastic. And a lot of the great coaches, if you ever met great coaches, people that are kind of legends, they had got that great personality. They're magnetic, and my concern now is, there is a little bit of a money issue there in Bemidji on the hockey side. The boys break even. The women's, kind of bleeds money, and it's tough to find that, you're in a town of 15,000, so it's tough to find those corporate sponsorships. Well, everybody knew RH. He'd been around, like I said, good talker. Everyone liked him. So my concern a little bit, not that they don't like Ernie or Coach Saratori, but it's a little bit different, and
Yep.
So my concern is I'm hoping that because he was still very active in the program, so I'm hoping that everything fundraising wise and raising money and even just getting the alumni to give back, I just hope that isn't affected because, like I said, his personality was big. So anyway, condolences.
I think that his legacy at BSU is going to live on forever. I think even though he's passed, I think you might get more people to give back to that program now. That'll come out of the woodworks that will remember. That'll be, I remember this, that. I'm going to give more to the program. I think you're going to get more because now there's going to be, even though we already knew there's a legacy of R.H. Peters, there's going to be even more now that he's not with us.
Okay. Well, I definitely hope that is the case. So, rest in peace, Coach, and condolences to the family and all the really good friends of Coach Peters and all you former players. All right, so we're going to run through a few scores from last week. We'll get this episode wrapped up here. So Hibbing Chisholm had to cancel Marshall on Saturday. We previewed that game last week. I guess both Hibbing's goalies were sick. So they're back on the ice tomorrow night against Proctor. Roseau 5, Buffalo 3 last week. Like I said, last night, Gentry Academy squeaked a win out in Coleraine 5-4 over the Raiders. I Falls 6, Ely 4, Warroad 7, Rogers 1. Last night over at Bemidji 5, East Grand Forks 2.
That is a surprising score. We know that East Grand Forks is a heck of a hockey team, but Bemidji still has a tradition that continues on, and that's a big win for Bemidji. Big.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, I was a bit surprised with that. And then Northern Lakes, Coach Larson's brothers team, a big win over the weekend, 15-0 over Breckenridge, Wahpeton. So padding the points a little bit there. That's good to see. Anything else this week?
No, I think kids we're getting into the holiday season. There's games, like we said, that have been canceled. We've postponed our game that was supposed to take place tomorrow night in Duluth-Denfeld. Some teams are dealing with some injuries. Some teams are dealing with some sicknesses. I don't think anybody's prone to that thing. I think now's a good time for teams to enjoy the holidays. Take some well-needed break and rest time and come back ready and hungry after the Christmas holiday weekend and get ready wheeling into that New Year week, because we've got some fun things to bring back that week after we've taken our break here at the Tea with Ms. McGill. We'll be back after the New Year and be ready to preview some games coming up there in that first week of January.
Yeah, and speaking of cancellation, so did you see the NHL said no, not going to Beijing or where I don't know if it was in Beijing, not going to China for the Olympics. And I think that really takes a load off, because I had heard some rumblings that some of the guys, they wanted to represent their country, but if you got COVID there, you're going to have to sit over there in China for 2 weeks or maybe 3. Who knows with China? Would there be a plane even ready to come back into? So I think it was the right move.
I do too. I think when you're talking about the NHL and how much money that the NHL brings in a whole bunch of different areas. Now you start talking about the owners of these teams, and if they have to shut games and seasons down because we have to sequester or quarantine players for 2 weeks until we find out whether everybody's testing negative for COVID, I think it's just a no-brainer. You know what? The Olympics are a big deal, but you know what's a bigger deal? It's getting rid of whatever pandemic we've been dealing with for a long time here. It's been long enough. Hopefully we can start to see things start to wind down in that. And maybe part of that is to have to postpone some things or some parts going over for the Olympics.
Yes, yeah, and now the interesting thing is they got to grab some players, So one interesting thing is Bill Guerin, of course, our general manager with our Minnesota Wild. He was a general manager, so I'm assuming he kind of wants to give that up. He can't go there for 2 weeks and then keep an eye on his Minnesota Wild, especially with the time change and everything. So it's going to be probably a transition of top management. And now it's okay. Now who do we get?
Well, there'll be some delegating, I think, that takes place. I think Billy Guerin was a lot more interested in taking that general managing position because it came with another caveat. It came with the idea that he's going to be able to general manage the World Junior team too. So bringing up another point that Grand Rapids great 2021 Mr. Hockey Award winner and Reed Larson Award winner, Jack Peart, was awarded a spot on that World Junior team. So that's part of the mix there. I mean, I don't know if everybody knows, but Jack Peart was a second round draft pick for the Minnesota Wild. And as soon as it was announced that Billy Guerin was going to be the general manager, he makes it very clear that Jack Peart is going to be on this team.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. So yeah, so good luck to any of you. I mean, you just know who they're going to be. We interviewed Drew LeBlanc, and I think I asked him in there, said, do you think you could have any advantage with the Olympics because you play on Olympic ice? He said, those guys at that level, the adjustment's easy, but yeah, they're all good enough. But it's just like, is that a guy that could be on the radar? You just don't know now, or is the AHL they're going to allow? I doubt they're going to allow AHL. So anyway, it'll be interesting, keep your ear to the ground on this Olympic thing, because all of a sudden they're going to have to come up with a roster, whatever, 25, 30, I don't know how many they carry, but like ASAP, because the Olympics are coming up right here in February. All right. So that will pretty much wrap us up. Reed, nobody likes our show. They like our show. Like I was with Louette last night. She said, I love the show. And I was with Mark last night. I love the show. Jackie, I talked to you a couple weeks ago, big fan. Please, if you get just a chance, give us a like. It'll warm our hearts for the holidays, wouldn't it, Reed? Because everyone says, I like your show, but they don't like our show. So take the time to give it that little click. We'd appreciate that.
Absolutely.
All right. Comment. Please, especially if you hear anything on the Olympics, throw us a comment. If you want to contact us privately, Goatsportsmediallc @gmail.com, Goatsportsmediallc @gmail.com. Of course, we still have merch, just a couple days to go till Christmas. So our t-shirts, although we're getting low, we're going to put another order in soon. Got our shirts, Tea with Ms McGill. Big thanks, as always, to Blue Line Brews, the Ring Sports Bar and Grill, Iron Range Apparel, Minnesota Hockey Camps, Iron Range Goalie Academy. Like I said, Merry Christmas to all of you. Get home, give your mom a hug for Christmas. She'll love it. For Reed Lyerson, I am Puka. Get out there and be your dream, your tune to the Tea with Ms McGill show.